Welcome back to the vlog. Welcome here to Goroka, Papua New Guinea. My name is Ryan. This is Brad. We'll get into why he's here with today. But let's go get started. We're going out to Minyamya today. And I haven't been up there in like a year with you guys shooting a video. So, fuel on. Over 14%. I introduced my fuel. I watched the oil compressor come up. I'm watching the NG coming up like past 30, 35. And then I look up here at the ITT. And just make sure that that little white needle is not going up too fast. As it comes back down, rudder off, igniter's off, go back, fuel pump back to standby. Once they've disconnected, then we can flip our generator on. And our apps will spike up. And then you throw the alternator on, it spikes up, then it evens out. Aux bus on, V2, prop forward. Fuel caps and selectors are controls. They're 6150, so we'll rotate at 58 and 68. Alright, all of our T's and P's are in the green. Our trim, we'll start setting up for full right rudder trim. Flaps are set, indicated and verified at 20. Goroka Tower, good morning, November Tango Zulu. Request taxi Minyamya, 2 POB.
Over Tango Zulu, Goroka Tower. Good morning, Ryan. Taxi, runway 17 left, enter backtrack lineup. QNH 1020, and time check 18.
Morning, right in, 1020, clear the backtrack lineup, 17 left, November Tango Zulu. Goroka Tower, November Tango Zulu, ready for departure.
November Tango Zulu, 17 left, left turn, clear for takeoff.
17 left, left turn, clear takeoff, November Tango Zulu. Right, ignition condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses. Checklist is complete. We'll rotate at 58. We're at 1390, so I got 20 degrees here, come up here, 20 degrees at 5,000 feet. It's 1440. It's pretty much the exact same temperature every morning. So you just know it's 1390 for 1440 because it's the same every single day. All right, they're 58. There's 50 continuing, there's 58.
You're saying 1390 for 1440. You're setting at 1390 and it creeps up to 1440.
Because we have bypass, we are putting it 50 foot-pound of torque below what it is supposed to be, and it will just run a higher torque. Once you start going, and the air is shoving in there, it'll come up. Right, over 500 feet, we'll push the nose over to get over 85 knots, go 10 degrees of flaps. Nose is going to want to drop down for a second, and then we're going to just re-pitch back up to just below the 7.5 degree mark. Below 0. So this is Brad. He's one of our new pilots. He'll be flying with me doing observation flights for the next month or so before he goes off to get actual Kodiak training, and then once he comes back, gets his validation permit, then he can legally sit in the left seat and he'll start flying. So yeah, for like the next maybe 6 or 7 months he'll be flying with me, right?
That's right.
And where are you from?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. And where in Oklahoma?
We call it Chickasha, Oklahoma home.
Okay. And it's down by South Oklahoma City, or? Okay.
Yeah, half an hour from Oklahoma City.
I think I've actually flown in there once before. They have a small airport, don't they? Okay.
Yeah, a little bitty uncontrolled airport.
Yeah, because I lived in Tulsa, so all of our building is in Oklahoma. It's very flat. Not much out there. Just because we've got like a couple layers here, a low one and then a higher one up, I'm not going out on my instrument departure, which is out to gas at 2 out here. So I'm just kind of keeping my nose just a little bit less of a high climb. I don't think I can out-climb that one right there, so I'm just going to go between them.
Okay.
And then continue on up to 11,000. Then as we're departing out of here, we can see the line here. That's when we switch over to Moresby, or you can also just hit your nearest. And then it just has like a visual also down here. So once we get to 15 miles, then we'll switch over to Moresby. There's a lot more clouds out here than I was thinking there was going to be.
It's already more than there were on Friday.
Well, just looking at the windy app, I mean, I didn't even barely show anything, so. All right, now that we're clear of all that, we'll go on up to 11,000. We're 16 miles now. Switch over to Moresby. Moresby 120.7, November Tango Zulu transfer.
November Tango Zulu, good morning, these must be good.
Good morning, November Tango Zulu, 17 miles to the southeast Goroka and climb 11,000. Estimating Minyamya 54.
November Tango Zulu, here at QNH 1010, no report of traffic, second estimate Minyama.
1010, estimating Minyamya 54. November Tango Zulu.
November Tango Zulu.
Whenever there's this many clouds, do you still have your bearings by seeing a few peaks here and there?
I know by mainly valleys. Like I know that there's this big valley going out here and then a big valley going out there. And those ridge lines, I know those are like the Sambari area and just on the other side. So you'll eventually just get to know where you are.
Tango Zulu, Moresby HF 6622.
6622, November Tango Zulu. And it'll just take a couple of months to get kind of your visual picture on where you are. But then there are some days where it's like maybe in an area that you're not really familiar with and you want to bring this back up and see exactly where you are.
Okay.
But after you've flown and you know where, like I know what gap that is, I know what runway that is, I know what runway that is, this is just some random reporting point. So you can just kind of fill that in and then go, oh, okay. There's this little hill here, and I remember what it looked like. There's this kind of sharper ledge right there.
It'll come with time.
It just comes with time, yeah. But we're going to go through the Mariwaka Gap. The way we can check to see our height of that Mariwaka Gap, we can hit this up here, come down to our waypoints, and then click on the Mariwaka Gap. So Mariwaka Gap is 8,300 feet.
Okay.
I think it's actually like 8,200 feet. So anyways, it gives you an idea of where you can, like what altitude you need to go down to be able to get through it.
Wait, so that's showing you the gap, that's not showing you the airport elevation?
No, that's just the gap.
Okay.
So I don't even put airports on here, but if we wanted all the airports on here,
oh, those
they're all the blue and yellow ones.
Okay.
So the blue ones are the open ones, and the red ones are the closed ones. So the Mariwaka airstrip, then we could bring up the airstrip chart that way and see it. So we can actually bring open Minyamya airstrip chart now. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that it says Minyamya. AYMC, that's where we're actually going. And looks like we should be able to clear all this just fine. So the elevation is 3,700 feet, so we can even put that in now. So we'll put down to 4,700 feet for pattern altitude.
Okay.
That way when we start our descent, it will put that little blue arc on this on the screen, and then we know when we're going to get to that altitude that we've set in here.
Okay. Once we start that descent.
Yeah, and it's a really, I mean, it's like 3,000 feet long or something. Yeah, it's 1,150 meters long.
Okay.
So it's just massively long. It's a 3% slope almost. With this one, like our standard operating procedures with Ethnos is we're supposed to keep within 300 to 700 feet on descent for a considered to be a stabilized approach. Because there's this big hill right here, this will be more like 750 feet on the descent to get down to where you actually want to land.
Okay.
So we have a few of them like that, but not too many of them. So there's like a river here. We're going to hug this terrain all the way in as close as we can. And then when we get to this, like there's another hill right there, then we'll turn final. And then there's a big hill here that we'll just kind of just skim right over top of, like 20, 30 feet, and then we'll drop on down. The way I have my thing set up is I have at the top of the screen right here, you have your ET, like your estimated time en route, you have 10 more minutes. So I use those a lot just on like when I first started flying, or I use like the distance, which is right next to it. So when I did it was like 10 miles out is when I would really start, maybe like 20 miles out, I'd pull out my iPad and start going through everything. And then 10 miles out, so maybe that's what I'll start doing with you, is just try to set up like specific times when we do everything.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
And that will give you enough time to look at the strip chart before things start getting busy. And then as you get more comfortable and know exactly where your eyes are supposed to look on the charts, then you can whip it out like 3 miles out if you need to and just quickly look at it. But when you first start, it's good to give yourself as much time and space as possible.
And I assume, I mean, especially early on here, it'd be good for me to look at the charts before the flight.
Yeah, definitely.
Rave everything, kind of get everything in my head, and then on the flight, review.
Yeah, I would even bring it up, or I would even just put the flight plan in here. So, and that way you can see exactly where you're going to be going. Yeah. So you can go, oh, I'm going to be going right by that mountain, and I might not be able to make it over top of it. So that's another nice thing, is just to go ahead and put it right in here, and you can see exactly where your track is going to be. So actually this mountain right here is where that vent hole is.
Okay. It's completely covered in vent.
Yeah, it is. So what we're going to do is, these mountains, you can't really see it here, but here is a little bit easier. All the dark stuff is a mountain, and then it comes light out here, and then light all the way up the valley. So once we get over Mariwaka, we're actually going to head over that way, so we can just start descending, because more than likely the clouds are going to hug all the dark parts, all the mountains, and now this way we'll be able to start our descent down in, more than likely. That's what we'll probably actually have to climb up another couple 100 feet to get over top of it, but that's what it looks like.
Now, where we felt that light turbulence, was that at that point that you were talking, we normally feel it going over those ridges?
Yeah,
is that where we're at
just
now?
Right over top of the Mariwaka Gap directly right now. And so, yeah, the winds are starting to hit it, and because we're a little bit closer, because I think these mountains all are up to like 11.45. So, yeah, those ones are right behind us, is actually taller than us. So as it hits that, because it's kind of coming directly that way, then it just swirls the air. So what we're going to do, more than likely, is we're going to just probably track over here, because typically it will drop off sooner over here, even though it just looks like a blanket.
So you're looking for this lighter color here?
Looking for the lighter color.
Okay.
And because the terrain will drop off, the clouds will usually drop off sooner than if we continue on straight. Even though you can't see anything, that's usually what it does.
Have you ever had much avionics trouble? I mean, if you lost this screen...
Because we've got two air data computers, so if one craps out, we can just come down here to let's see, sensor. We have air data computer 1, air data computer 2.
Okay.
So we can just switch off to that if we need to.
And you're just going to ease it on down since we still have clouds so close?
Yep, I'm just going to scrape the tops as close as I can, and then I'm guessing in like another 2 or 3 miles it will just drop off, is what I'm hoping. Okay. But you can see already, this is a little bit lower than it is over there.
Okay.
Right, we're coming up to 10 miles. This is the time I usually start up. Our fuel selectors are on, our brakes. We'll turn TAWs off. We don't use our yaw dampener. Turn this over here to my auxiliary page, 5990, so we'll just say 6,000. So we'll land at 67 knots. Hit my timer reference, 67 knots. This is flashing, letting me know that I'm 10 miles out. I'll just hit my advisory to make it go away. I can flip on my landing light. We haven't gone down yet, so I'm going to go ahead and flip my bypass now because we're below 140 knots.
Okay.
The reason why we do 140 is because at one time we bent the actuator rods. Either we were going too fast or somebody moved both of them at the same time and bent it. We don't know. So we just say 140 now, even though it's not anywhere in the airplane flight manual, so it won't find that anywhere. The lights and inlet are done. On this one, the abort procedure, it's the little dotted lines. You can go out this way or this way.
Okay.
If we need to go around, we'll just continue straight up the runway and then head off to the right.
Okay.
And we'll power up 20 degrees of flaps, pitch for 73 knots, and then reset our ITT to 740 for takeoff climb. All stations, Minyamia 120.7, Kodiak November Tango Zulu, 8 miles to the northwest, 10,400 on descent circuit, 5-3 Minyamia. All right, we'll see how much it drops off out here. Let's bring back the big map and zoom in. So we actually want to go down. This is crazy because the windy app showed none of these clouds out here. So I'm hoping that there's some holes that we can actually get down. Once we get into like the center of the valley, maybe then it will have some holes, which is like right on the other side of this a little bit.
Mantengo Zulu Moresby, no report traffic for descending to Minyama.
November Zulu. So sometimes you just can't trust the Windy app because it's like, oh, there's a tiny hole and it looks like it's clear underneath. So maybe we'll find some. Let me just slow down. But if we can find a hole, yeah, it's so thin right here. What we'll do is we'll slow on down and then make a turn. 10 degrees of flaps, up forward. All right, so here's a hole right here.
Okay.
Murik at time 0.
20 degrees of flaps,
And
30 degrees of flaps.
Abim at time 28.
Go 20 degrees of flaps. Power back in. Well, that was cool. And it's beautiful under here. And it looks like we could have actually gone the low route in, so. All right, then we'll go 0 degrees. Then there is Minyama down there, like right by like all those forest trees, so. All right, prop and harness is done. Actually, we're just gonna go ahead and bring my power all the way back to idle almost.
It's down here at the bottom.
It's kind of that grassy L kind of J shape kind of, because there's 2 runways, but one of them is not technically open.
I gotcha, I see it now.
We want to come all the way down to 4,700 feet. Moresby 120.7, November Tango Zulu in the circuit Minyama, cancel SAR.
Mantengo Zulu Moresby, Minyama, Sabot terminated.
November Tango Zulu. Alright, so just looking at this is when I'm going to actually get to the altitude that I have pre-selected in here, 4,700. So it looks like we're going to get it right on close to downwind, but rather than like zooming into downwind, I'm just going to come out here and make an S-turn so I can fly over the field and have a little bit more time to slow down, get my flaps how I want them, and establish what I want. Elevation of Minyama 120.7, November Tango Zulu will be flying overhead to join our left downwind runway 33 Minyama. All right, well, we'll go 138 knots, we'll go 10 degrees of flaps again. Last year when we were out here, a bunch of kids had like burnt a bunch of numbers all over these mountains out here, like just random 46, 10, 5, I have no idea why. But anyways, some of these hills are so steep, and they would get cardboard boxes and lay them out, and they're like sleds. They're so steep, they just go down the grass, and it looked like so much fun. I would love to do that. All right, so all we have is flaps to go. We'll keep 10 degrees in until we get a beam the numbers, then we'll go 20 degrees. We wanted 67 knots, 77 knots on base, and 88 knots on downwind. And 11 knots up here, which will be headwind. Probably have a tailwind on takeoff, which is pretty common. Hit our OBS, turn runway 33 if we wanted to. Alright, I don't see anybody mowing anything out there at all. There's our pattern altitude, and we're looking for 88 knots. Another thing we can do is look for smoke down there, low to the ground, and it will kind of give you an indication of where the winds are going. On the ground, they're still kind of going the same direction, which is what our GPS right here is showing.
500.
6 knots. So it's already dropped down 6 knots already. We'll go 20 degrees of flaps, and we'll drop around 300 feet from here before we turn base, so it'll be 4,400 feet. So today there's not much wind, 7 knots of tailwind, but sometimes it'll be like 15 to 20 knots that just wants to push you into that mountain. We're gonna go here, just hug these little higher trees right here on the right side of them. We're slowing to 78 knots.
500.
And we have flaps to go. Go full flaps now. Checklist complete. Going to 68 knots. A little more coordinated. And slow down a little bit more. Yeah, you can look, we're at 700 feet per minute on the descent right now. Kind of land right where that little brighter area is in the sun. At 1 knot of headwind. Okay, we're continuing. And below 40 knots, we don't go into like reverse. I go low idle, put my flaps to 20 degrees for next time. All right, well, this is Minyamia, everybody. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed that flight out here. And consider subscribing if you're not already. So anyways, you'll probably be seeing a lot more of Brad in the next coming months, and eventually he'll start flying as well. So then I'll be sitting right seat. Anyways, thanks again for taking the time to watch, guys, and welcome to Minyamia. Right, for shutdown, we'll get our fuel, 510, push that in, and these off. Push this back, make sure it's above the gate. And we'll turn our up a hill fuel off, even though we're just barely on a hill, we'll turn it off, just so we're not transferring it over.